Intro, 2, 3, 4. Verse 1. Chorus. Drums in. Verse 2, drums in. Drums in. Bridge. Slowly build.
Hey, all you wonderful worshipers, Dan Shields here, the church guitarist, and it is good to be back together again. Today we're going to be looking at the song Nobody. This is the Passion version, not the Elevation version. Elevation's great, but there's a bunch of tutorials out for that, so I wanted to put one out for the Passion version. We're going to be doing that tonight. We're doing a Good Friday service. It's really a wonderful song. It has beautiful, beautiful words. And cool guitar parts also, but simple. You're going to have an easy time with this one, so it's going to be a pretty easy one in general. So as I always like to do, I'm going to walk through my sounds. Let me turn stuff off here so that we get these sounds. So first of all, my bass sound, I've got just a little bit of drive. So you can hear it bite just a little bit. I have a big reverb. So it really fills some space. And then I've got a delay, and there's a couple tricks to this delay. First of all, I've got a delay with dotted eighth note. So you can hear that. But you also hear something. I have the high end rolled off of the thing. So every repeat, it comes back. It's a little darker, like an old tape echo. Bow, bow, boo, boo. So it gets darker each time. And I've got some like modulation. So you can hear it's like, like warbling around. And I put a little bit of grit on there too to make it dirtier as it goes along. But the real trick on this is I put the delay before the amplifier. Now there's two different approaches, and I don't want to go too deeply into this, but just so you know, there's two different approaches to delays and reverbs. One of them is to put them post, which means you put them in the effects loop of the amplifier, or in the old studio days, they would just record the amplifiers pretty dry, and then they would put effects on later. That really sounds beautiful. It's a pristine type of delay and reverb. A lot of guys really prefer that sound, but most of your worship guys, excuse me, most of your worship guys, they don't do that because they have like a stock AC30 amp or something like that, doesn't have an effects loop. So they just have your regular board that goes straight in with your distortion and your delays and stuff like that before the amplifier. And when you do that, it gets a really like weird, distorted sound on the delays themselves. It makes the amp sound a little bit odd. Some people don't like that sound, but you hear it a lot in worship music, and it's a really common sound. So if you have, if you're using a Kemper or you're using something, Helix or something like that, where you can very easily put stuff before the amplifier or after the amplifier, you got to try that and just see what it does. It's really interesting sounding. Okay, so this delay is before the amplifier. It makes it a little bit grungier. Let's dive into the parts now. To start off with, I'm going to be playing tenths. We're in the key of E. So I'm going to do, instead of playing with a pick, I'm just going to tuck my pick away, and I just sort of tuck it like that in my finger so that I can get to it very quickly between pick and fingers. I'm doing tenths just to tell you what tenths are, not to go too far into theory, but just so you understand this. Like if I'm in the key of C, the note that would be a tenth would be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. So it'd be the notes C and E, and it gives you this sound, which you've heard a million times, especially in worship stuff. So I'm in the key of E. It would be the note, I'm not going to use the accidentals yet, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G sharp. So it's E and G sharp. And this would be my harmonized scale going up in the key of E. All right, so we're not going to jump into the music theory on that, but hopefully that helps you understand what tenths are. I'm going to play on beat 4, an E with the G sharp, so the notes G sharp and B, up to the A, which is A and C sharp. Repeat it. B chord, C sharp, B with the D sharp and E, and it'll go like this. It's basically tracking the melody. That's the idea of the verse section. Then we're going to play a B chord with an F sharp on top. All right, then we go into the chorus section. Chorus section's really easy. I'm just going to play the notes A, G sharp, G sharp, F sharp, basically. But I'm going to toggle back and forth between the E string and the B string. When you do that, you have to be really careful with your finger position. If it's over just a little bit too much, you'll kill that note. hits on beat 4. So that's a 3/4 bar, and it's the notes A and F sharp to G sharp. Okay, so that's the whole beginning of the song. Then we go into the interlude section. Now the interlude section, he's just playing some swell stuff. I'm going to actually walk you through that, but it's not important that you play those exact parts. You know, those can be as free as you want to make them. But what is important though on that, I'm going to turn off my delay here, is that you follow the chords. Okay, so this is super important. You follow the chords and the rhythm. So the chord is this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So A, C sharp, B. So you've got to play notes that line up with those chords and the timing. So let's say, for instance, I started on my notes C sharp, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I started on A, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I started on E, so it's important to know those, and the way that you learn those, this is probably one of the most important things that you can know. You need to know your triad shapes. There's basically only 2 triads when you're dealing with worship music, major and minor. It's the root, the third, and the fifth. And don't tune out on this because it's super important stuff. But if I took, for instance, my E chord, E, G sharp, and B, and I took the next inversion, which is G sharp, B, E, and then the next inversion, which is B, E, G sharp, just knowing those 3 shapes means a whole lot to these chords. And when I go to the B chord then, or the A chord, just knowing those shapes really quickly is super important. Incidentally, I have a book series out called the Guitar Daily Workouts, like an exercise program, and System 5 deals with those. It's probably one of the most important things you can learn. Although if you've not gone through any of the systems, I'd probably start off with System 1. And I'm not trying to sell books here at all, but it's super helpful to know this stuff. If you don't know it, you're going to always feel lost on your guitar. If you know it, you won't feel lost anymore. All right, so enough of that. Let me jump into the actual parts here. So he's going to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, which is B and E up to C sharp, B and E, G sharp and C sharp, F sharp, E, and then C sharp to D sharp with a little bend, C sharp, G sharp, F sharp, E. Okay, that's the intro of that. Then if you want to, you can just go into, like a little, just a straight E note on that. The next section, and again, it's not important that you play this note for note, but just to show you what he's doing, he'll come into it with like G sharp, F sharp. Again, same thing. D sharp, and then C sharp, G sharp, F sharp, E, D sharp, E, and then that brings us into the bridge. And again, don't worry about the notes as much as the concepts with where those things are falling. On the bridge, we're going to go from the note, and he puts on a distortion at this point. So it's like way more in your face. B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp. And that's just, they'd call it a Mixolydian scale, but it's basically just your E major scale. Starting from being able to go up 1 string on that. And I'm playing my open strings. Super aggressive sounding. Every now and again, he'll bend. It's sort of random when he does that, but it's that's good to know too. And then we're back into the. I think sometimes he'll bend. And sometimes he puts in this D sharp note on the B love it. The very last time he does a harmony. And then you're out. So anyhow, hopefully I didn't rabbit trail too much on some of that stuff, but like I said, I am trying to also help you to learn guitar in general, to be a better guitarist, better at your craft, but also learn the song. So hopefully it did a little bit of both and didn't rabbit trail too much on you. So thanks for being part of this. Until next time, God bless.